Hello and welcome to this episode. Today's guest is a young social entrepreneur who's making India more inclusive towards his micro-entrepreneurs. Meet Ram of RangDe. His work can really change the pace at which our country is developing and how. Ram and his wife Smita, the co-founders of RangDe, are along with their team turning you and me as well as corporates into social investors who will fund the growth of India's financially excluded. RangDe.org may be India's first online platform to connect social investment and microcredit, nurturing large-scale financial inclusion. Thanks to location partner Infinity. Ram, before we get into talking about RangDe, could you please define for me what social investment means?
It is a small amount of capital which you give to a low-income entrepreneur in the form of a loan, and the entrepreneur invests in his or her business, and the money comes back to you. Essentially, a small sum of money, as little as 100 rupees, which you can lend.
Anybody in the public can lend. Yeah. What does the concept of social investment and its impact mean to a developing country like ours?
There are about 300 million people who are extremely poor in the country. So they don't have access to traditional form of financial services. So you have this entire population who don't have access to credit. This is as per the sectoral reports. A very conservative estimate is the demand for microcredit is 300,000 crores. But what is alarming is all the initiatives put together, public, private, for-profit initiatives, all put together, they just add up to 5%.
Wow. Okay.
So there's this huge demand, there's a gap which needs to be filled in. So when we started, RangDe, we wanted to reach out to underserved communities and populations in underserved geographies. And the way we wanted to do this is work with partners who have access to these communities. There have been several instances where communities felt that they could not afford microcredit because of the cost of microcredit. And our focus is to reach out to these communities. So there have been, phenomenal success stories where communities got credit for the first time, and they felt that more than anything else, they felt they had that confidence and this, and the aspirations of saying that we can start a business and we can make some money.
Ram, tell me, how old is RangDe and how many such microcredits has it facilitated and connected social investors with let's say rural entrepreneurs?
Yeah. It's been a long journey, largely because we had to build a model, also educate people about what microcredit was all about. Yeah. Because if you look at, there are many causes in India, but microcredit was never looked at as a cause. So yes, it's been a little more than 5 years now, and we've reached out to 21,000 micro-entrepreneurs across 15 states. And we've done this with the help of close to 5,000 individual social investors, and some of them are also corporates who have joined us to fund these micro-entrepreneurs. And we've disbursed a little over 14 crores in the last 5 years.
That's fabulous.
And what is, I think, a uniqueness, or in some sense, which has been a non-negotiable for us, has been the cost of lending to these communities of borrowers. And the cost has been 8.5% flat, which is about 15.3% APR for microcredit. And for education loans, it has been 5% flat, which is about 9% APR for education loans. So just to give you context, the interest rates for instance, in Bangladesh, the Grameen Bank, their interest rates are 10% flat, 18% APR for microcredit.
Wow.
The RBI's guideline for microcredit is 26% APR.
So you've been able to lower it dramatically.
Yes. I think that was the intent, because we firmly believe that if we could leverage the social goodwill which people have in abundance in India and give them a channel, channel of actually making it a lot more easier to connect with these rural entrepreneurs across the country.
Yeah.
And give them credit. And it's not a donation, it's credit which you're giving them, which comes back to you. So the whole idea was to build an ecosystem and also connect with these entrepreneurs. So we organize field trips when they go out and meet these entrepreneurs face to face.
So they know who they're giving credit to, and they know what it's being used for.
And they can go on a field trip as well. Clearly, microcredit is the first step.
Yeah.
It's not a magic bullet, but it's the first step. But there's a lot more which can be done.
Okay, and what is the smallest amount of credit you've facilitated?
That's a great question,
because that really decides how many people are going to come on board, and become social investors.
Well, okay, so there are two answers to this. One, the smallest loan we have done so far is 1,000 rupees.
Okay.
We had to, change our configuration because our systems were designed to give a minimum loan amount of 5,000 rupees.
Okay.
Because of our mandate that we should reach out to first-time borrowers, there was this request which we received from our partner in Orissa, who wanted to reach out to communities, the Zina community, who had never borrowed before, and they were in this business of making baskets.
Okay.
So they wanted enough capital to buy rope, so that it saves them time to travel to sort of the round trips they do to the market. And they can use that time to make more baskets.
So this would be what, a week's worth of rope?
Perhaps a week, perhaps a month.
Okay.
And they would do that and then sort of save that and use it as a revolving credit. So,
so their margins on each sale would increase as well then, right?
Yeah. So it was a 1,000 rupee loan. But if you want to contribute online and give credit to somebody, then it's 100 rupees.
Okay. So you can give as little as 100 rupees if you're a social investor.
Yeah.
Ram, how is RangDe funded, and how do you generate enough revenue in this whole system to, sustain the whole process?
Okay. So when we started, we came up with this idea of, building RangDe. We're very conscious of the fact that, we should look at how should we structure it. Should it be a non-profit or a for-profit? And we chose non-profit as a legal structure for RangDe for a very simple reason, that we are a platform where we raised a lot of philanthropic debt capital. So essentially it's philanthropic credit which we raise online. And this is entirely based on the goodwill of social investors who come online and they contribute capital. So
you've been growing RangDe mostly based on grants then?
Yeah, it has been so far.
Okay.
But the whole we are about 60% break even.
Okay.
Largely because we receive a lot of grant funding, so we do a lot of we get interest on the deposits, and we also do a lot of fundraisers. But the whole idea is that at scale, and so we're nowhere close to scale, we do about 8 million rupees of loans of disbursals every month.
Okay.
So we are looking at reaching at about 40 million, which is about 4 crores a month.
Okay.
And once we reach there, we would break even. So the idea is to basically be sustainable and run it like a business, and at the same time be non-profit, be mission driven. And not be driven by profits.
Okay, so in this whole process of connecting the micro lender with the social investor, where does RangDe generate revenue?
So every loan which is made on RangDe, we get 1% to cover our operating costs. Okay. It's clearly not sufficient at the current scale.
Yeah, but once you scale up, then it should be okay.
Which is about 1% flat we get on every loan.
I see. Now you come from a non-sort of economics or social entrepreneurship background. You're a hardcore IT guy who had an international high-flying career, and you dropped it all and you've started this. What's the story with that?
Well, it just goes back a bit. When I was growing up in Lucknow, and I was always very carried away by people who are doing something in the social space. Hindu used to do a good job of actually carrying those stories of somebody, who's just left a very well-paying career, or, civil servants who got very disillusioned and gone back to their home village and they started something.
Got engaged with the community there.
So I used to, we are very, sort of a fly on the wall, but I used to keep reading these stories. And in 2004, I got married to Smita, who also had a similar, set of values, and she also wanted to do something in the social space. And we knew each other for 2 years,
before the marriage.
Before the marriage.
Yeah, okay.
So we used to spend a lot of time, discussing ideas, and so we said, okay, we need to have a timeline for venturing out in the social space. So we set a year for ourselves, which was 2006. We said 2006 is the year when we're going to take a plunge. It can be anything, because in a country like India, you're spoiled for choice. But the one idea which struck us was when Muhammad Yunus won the Nobel Peace Prize, and the announcement was made. And what was interesting was the observation of the committee which awarded Professor Yunus and the Grameen Bank. They made an interesting observation. They said, we chose to give Muhammad Yunus the Peace Prize and not the Economics Prize because across communities, and it's been proved beyond a doubt that wherever there is no poverty, there is peace.
I guess that's the result of inclusion.
Yes,
in growth.
It's very remarkable, and that was the perfect timing. That was the year for which we had made a promise to ourselves, and we said, let's look at microcredit, because microcredit, if you look at it, has an answer to quite a few problems. Because if you look at all the issues we have in India, the root cause is poverty. If you remove poverty, you'll have different issues, issues which developed nations face. But we're still nowhere close to that.
Fantastic. All the best to you and Smita. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Join our mailing list at chaiwithlakshmi.in/subscribe and keep in touch with us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and Pinterest.